Welcome back to Readings and Commentary with Insane Sam. These are readings from philosophy, history, poetry, literature, just anything in the written word that I like and I think you might like, so I can share it with you. Today's reading's coming on January 20th, 2025. It's the day Donald Trump's being inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States. With that in mind, all three readings this week are going to be the inaugural addresses of other presidents. And the first one is Lincoln's First Inaugural Address. It was delivered on March 1st, 1861. He had just been elected, and keep in mind the Civil War hadn't started yet, but it was on the horizon, and Lincoln was trying to head things off if he could. But let's take a read here, and I'm only going to give you excerpts because otherwise it'd be too long, but still I think you'll find it powerful. Apprehension seems to exist among the people of southern states that by the accession of a Republican administration, their property and peace and personal security are to be endangered. There has never been any reasonable cause for such apprehension. Indeed, the most ample evidence to the contrary has all the while existed and been open to their inspection. It is found in nearly all the published speeches of him who now addresses you. But I quote from one of those speeches when I declare that, "I have no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with the institution of slavery in the United States where it exists. I believe I have no lawful right to do so, and I have no inclination to do so. One section of our country believes slavery is right and ought to be extended, while the other believes it is wrong and ought not to be extended. The great body of the people abide by the dry legal obligation in both cases, and a few break over in each. This, I think, cannot be perfectly cured, and it would be worse in both cases after the separation of the sections than before. The foreign slave trade, now imperfectly suppressed, would be ultimately revived without restriction in one section, while fugitive slaves, now only partially surrendered, would not be surrendered at all by the other. Physically speaking, we cannot separate. We cannot remove our respective sections from each other, nor build an impassable wall between them. A husband and wife may be divorced and go out of the presence and beyond the reach of each other, but the different parts of our country cannot do this. They cannot but remain face to face, and intercourse, either amicable or hostile, must continue between them. In your hands, my disaffected fellow countrymen, and not in mine, is the momentous issue of civil war. The government will not assail you. You can have no conflict without yourselves being the aggressors. You have no oath registered in heaven to destroy the government, while I shall have the most solemn one to preserve, protect, and defend it. I am loath to close. We are not enemies but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land will yet swell the chorus of the Union when again touched, as it surely will be, by the better angels of our nature." So, you keep in mind that this was before the Civil War started. It actually started 38 days after Lincoln gave that speech. And it tells you what historians sometimes seem to overlook, that Lincoln was not an abolitionist in the sense that he wanted to prohibit slavery. He loathed slavery and was not a fan of it, but he famously said during the middle of the Civil War, "If I can save the Union by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. If I could save the Union by freeing some of the slaves and not freeing other slaves, I would do that. If I could do that by not freeing any of the slaves, I would do that too." He was a pragmatist on this matter. But in any event, that was the speech he gave a little over a month before the Civil War started. So that's our first reading of inaugural addresses. The next day's reading is going to be his second inaugural address, which many historians think is the greatest of all inaugural addresses. So that's the end of today's reading and commentary. You can get all my readings Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's when they're released on my YouTube channel, the Route 66 Party Guide. I also have over 100 videos about Route 66 on there I think you'll like. So please subscribe to the station, get all your friends to subscribe, and with that, Insane Sam out.